Salam and hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for our legal technology and innovation webinar series. This is the third series, and our topic today is: can the use of social media platform have an influence on the electoral processes, whether in any country, wherever the social media is used? And I am Barrister Tasnuva Shelley and an advocate of the Supreme Court of Bangladesh. Uh, I've been working as a legal professional for over 18 years and I've developed this unique expertise and experience working in areas of law, technology, and business. With me, I have a very special guest, PhD in law. He's a licensed attorney from Brazil and an expert in the knowledge of economic analysis, of electoral rules, political behavior, public choice theories, and he will tell us a lot more about what he knows about economics and electoral processes and the economics principles. Just to give an overview on what we will be talking about today, we'll be doing an economic analysis of law, and with that, we'll be discussing the different theories that are applicable to the electoral rules, along with its effect on social media platforms that are being used widely all around the globe, and how, in spite of all that, we'll try to measure the benefits of using social media and whether there are any challenges that exist in this digital era that we are living right now. And with that, I hope it's going to be a very interesting discussion. I hope you stay till the end. And I want to start by saying that Andre, thank you for your so much for your time, and so happy to have you here on this webinar. Can I tell everyone how I know you? So
Sure.
Andre completed three masters, and one of them was from Scalia Law School. We did our LLM together back in 2018 on law and economics. So we actually had a lot of classes together, and he was the one person who helped me understand game theory. And I was going bonkers trying to understand what it was. And Andres, thank you for your patience. I remember how many times you we sat together so that I could clearly get a grasp of this concept of game theory, which is actually a subset of economics. It's what economics principles are based on, and how basically, one player's decision can have an impact on how the other player will behave or act. So thank you for that. It's been actually one of the most powerful and stimulating subjects for me. And thanks to you, I became such an expert on it that I wrote my thesis on my public law class using applying the game theory, and I got an A plus. So to understand game theory, let's see if I still remember it. It's basically, it helps you to understand the core idea behind economics, and it's very simple. It's the science behind why people make the decisions that they make, and how that actually you can preempt what the other person, based on your decision, is going to make. So I want to ask you, because I remember a lot of people asking me, "You're doing an LLM in law and economics. What does economics have to do with law?" And then I realized everything. Everything in life has to do with economics. And so, can you tell us, Andre, that if there is the law and economics approach to political and electoral rules, and also tell us a bit about your PhD research topic.
Sure. Hello, Tas. Hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. So we studied together in USA, and to me, it's great to be here talking with you again about the topics we studied. And when we studied law and economics, we realized that economics is a science of human behavior. So with economics, we can explain and predict how people will behave and respond to rules. And that's really important to law professionals because it's not just what's written on the rule, but what people will understand and how people will respond to that. And when we studied game theory is a theory of human decision. Of how to get a better use of the rules and get better results, and assuming the strategies the other players will do, and that have a great connection with politics because we have elections, and elections are a set of rules, and consumers market and politics have a lot of similarities. We can think of the political market and elections as a market as well. And some assumptions we apply to consumers market, we can also apply on time, on things we can do, and we are making choices all the time. And we have preferences. So people good market is competitive, but it's necessary to have some rules. Otherwise, markets can be not competitive. So it's important to have an efficient market that we have a good set of information. The consumers are informed, and we have a lot of players, so it needs to be competitive. And So there are also externalities because the actions of people impact on other people. So we can deal with the impact of the actions and not transfer the cost of our actions to another person's. And that's how regulation works. When we think about goods, it's important to have clear information. Otherwise, someone could sell a water and say it's a water from Amazon, and it can make you a lot healthier and beautier and do a lot of great things. But in fact, it's just water, and the the producer has a lot of information, and the consumer does not. So regulation comes to solve this problem and makes the market more efficient and competitive. And we can apply that on political markets as well.
So, when you're talking about market, so there is a political market. So, are you saying that the electoral processes and the regulations that are to be followed during an election is very relevant in the political market to protect democracy, right?
Exactly, exactly. We may think about the voters as consumers, and we have that. But when we think of political markets, we can think as well that an official political market is has a lot of players, is competitive, it's fair, everyone is in the same coalition, and it's accountable, it's transparent. So, the, can you go back to the slides?
Yeah. So we were talking about political market, and
Right,
in political market, there are the players are the politicians, and interest groups, vested parties. They're all the players and the actors, and there are certain factors that influence their behavior and their preferences of these actors in the political market. So, can you just probably elaborate on that? How these actors in the political market and the influences, how they're influenced and their behavior patterns matter?
yes. When I think of the political market, we may think that you can think about a group that supports the welfare of animals, and someone can support that, can join in that agenda, a politician. In exchange, that group may say, okay, that candidate is on our agenda. He supports the welfare of animal beings and people that has his agenda may vote in these candidates have the same ideology. So that's how things work. In an election, politicians need the support because alone they wouldn't have all the resources to reach the consumers. And in the other side, voters tends to be very less informed. And it's okay because it's costly to get informed. Not everyone has the time to study how the political system works and how all the agendas and everything the parties are promoting. They don't have the time. People don't have. They have their life to live. So we have this problem of asymmetry information, and interest groups play an important role because they influence the voters.
So there's also an influence on these electoral processes and rules that kind of defines the political strategies and their outcomes. Would you
Exactly.
agree with that? Right. So the political rules that or the processes that each country develops in within their legal framework, it does influence and define the strategies and the outcomes of that particular scenario, right?
Yes, few people cares about animal welfare again. It's less likely that there will be a candidate supporting that idea because he needs to get elected by the majority. In a proportional electoral system where we have a lot of seats in the districts, it's more likely that we'll have some candidates that represent the majority and some candidates that represent the minorities. But also, we have a problem that in proportional rules, where the the it's more plural, it's maybe harder to form a coalition because the coalition may bargain and aggregate a lot of very different ideas. So there are always some pros and cons in every system, and every country has its system, but the electoral rules define how the political system will work and which candidates will be elected. So the any national assembly reflects the results of the electoral rules.
What we are so it, from what we have heard you say, it's basically making it clear that countries around the world have different electoral processes and rules which are basically tailored according to their specific legal framework, uh, cultural norms. You said, based on districts, like, how the geographical location of that country, their capabilities, like, financial capacities, and so on. So this brings me to this interesting uh, articles that I was going through when we were preparing for this. Basically, 2024. is apparently the biggest election year in history. There are, I read this on Forbes and the Economics, they're saying 2024 is set to be the biggest election year in history, featuring seven of the 10 most populous nations in the world. And I want to name a few. Yeah, as you can see, I need reading glasses now. I didn't back then. So the countries that are set to have elections in 2024 start with the United States. They are going to be having their presidential and house elections in November. Then India, the world's largest democracy, has claimed to have a billion people eligible to vote in its general elections, sometime scheduled to happen sometime in June 2024. Then Taiwan is very closely having their polls set for January, I think the second week. Taiwan is like I said already set for on January 13th. Then we have Indonesia, who's also scheduled to have their elections, and Pakistan, which is basically the fourth and the fifth most populous countries, respectively, to held their general elections in February next month. Then we have South Africa kind of having their elections. Then there's Mexico in June 2024. Russia and Iran are also going to be holding their general elections in 2024. We really don't know how that's going to turn out because of the geopolitical turmoil between these countries, but it's still scheduled. Then it's just not the countries, the European Union is also scheduled to have hold their parliamentary elections in June, and actually Bangladesh is actually having their general elections scheduled actually tomorrow. So we are basically in the year of elections, and which brings me that all these elections. More than 50 countries around the world, combined population of 4.2 billion, will hold national and regional elections. And it is very likely that each of them will have a different electoral process, as we already acknowledged that it depends on the individual legal framework. I think we all agree with that. And I think we should also acknowledge the fact that these 4.2 billion people and these 50 countries that are going to be holding elections, we need to acknowledge that social media platforms will be playing a major role in the political market and is going to very likely to influence the behavior of the political actors preferences and their patterns in this digital era. So how would you I want your views on that. What are your views, because we are actually in this digital era, like globally, and with 4.2 billion people have and 50 countries having their elections, the role of social media is probably going to play a big role in the political market.
Exactly, exactly. So when we think about how the rules can influence elections, we may think about how the rules about social media can influence elections. And not just social media is there, it's a technology and it will be used. And I was talking about elections and how the electoral rules influence the who will be in any national assembly, but the rules also impact the how the politicians will behave after elected, because they are always trying to be re-elected, and they think what their constituency need and how to allocate resources. So they are all the time thinking on the next election. And social media is a technology that came that has a great impact on elections and will also have a great impact on how decisions will be made after the elections. So that's the the importance of this subject. And thinking about the political market, you may remember how this political market worked before social media. So we had a high cost for politicians to communicate with voters because there were few journals and news enterprises that concentrated the spread of mass spread of information, and they had a lot of political influence. And for some politicians to communicate with voters, they needed to talk personally with each one, and that demands a lot of time. Advertisement demanded a lot of money because it's expensive. So people would need to hire uh, TV ads or posters and everything else. So it was costly to advertise as a politician, and that increased the influence of interest groups because to be to get in touch with the voters, it was really necessary to have a lot of resource. And interest groups supported with did financial support, a lot of financial support, but also visibility. But they don't do that without anything in change. They will also try to implement their agenda or make the atmosphere better for their business. They want the better for their business as well. So we have this big asymmetric information on voters and politicians and the big influence of interest groups. That was the scenario before social media. And social media is really relevant because it can make the political market a lot more competitive. And that's good. That's good. People get more informed, and it's a lot easier to spread information. It's a lot easier to get in touch with voters, and people more informed can make better choices. So a competitive market leads to a more quality of politicians and a more big quality of uh, public decisions, and that's great. That's great. Social media increase the participation on the public debate. It has a great impact. But we also have the problem of the information and asymmetric information I talked about in consumers market. If someone can say it's a miracle water from Amazon, someone can spread fake news or deliver false promises or false information. And just as the consumer couldn't know the real properties of this water, the voters also cannot know if the information is real or not. So with that, we go to the need of a good regulation to create uh, a good use of social media on this political market when it can increase the quality of the political market.
I will go to that, but Andre, I think at this point, um, if I could kind of highlight the positive impact of social media in so many ways, like you highlighted, like sharing information is so much easier, when you're using social media platforms, and it helps. The powers of social media is that uh, it enables a rapid and widespread dissemination of information, allowing candidates to communicate directly with the voters or the users. And but like you said, it also kind of raises concerns about the accuracy and the reliability. Then we see it reduces cost, like the campaigning outreach, the before social media era. before this digital era. You would have to print out leaflets, posters. There will be politicians going door to door. Now we don't see much of that, and so the campaigning outreach is obviously more, and it's very cost effective for the politicians. The financial burden on them is very less. However, it is increasing. It is increasing the politicians' candidates' reach in a faster way, and their awareness, their engagement uh, with the voters, with their community, is also happening in a better way. And when a campaign is going viral, um, it's uh, happening in a quicker way, um, in an efficient manner. If I want to say that, the engagement, um, it's happening in real time. Like, there is a press conference happening by this particular party, and if you're going live on a social media, it's real time. Like, physically I cannot be there, but I don't have to wait for the 10 p.m. news to watch what happened earlier in the morning. I am there live. I can see that. And then also there are feedbacks. Like, there are uh, people who are giving comments. They're giving their, whether they like it or not, if what they're liking, what they're not liking. So that also kind of helps these political parties and these political actors to respond accordingly and quickly with these feedbacks. And there are certain areas which are very remote. It's kind of hard to get to. So social media makes it easier um, to reach, every single corner at the grassroots level, with the message that each political party or the candidate has. And it's kind of like, I feel like, it's giving people kind of an empowerment, that I know everything that's happening, and I know, I'm hearing this news live. I'm hearing it like there's a saying that you hear it from the horse's mouth. So it's not reprinted or republished in the newspaper the next morning, or how the media at the 10 p.m. news is kind of summarizing the entire speech. But I am hearing exactly, word to word. And one more positive thing that I see is the engagement of our youth. The youth generation is really, they are the ones who are, there were millennials, then Gen Z, and all this. So they're the ones who are always on social media. So it's a very easier way to reach out to them, because they are actually the future of our next generation. So their involvement, their views, their engagement with the picking a political party or like a particular candidate, and commenting on it, sharing on it, and sharing. So all this kind of I see to be, like having a very big positive impact. But clearly, social media is transforming the way campaigns are conducted, uh, like 20, 15 years ago. And information is shared, and the way voters engage, that has definitely changed. And while social media can be a very, very powerful tool, like you very correctly pointed out, there are certain challenges, like spreading of misinformation. Like, fake news will now travel faster. uh, these There is a very high chance of online content being manipulated in some way. Like, your image has been manipulated. A particular fake news about a particular political party or a political candidate, or any other player sharing it, of sharing fake news, and that spreads like wildfire. Uh, so these are actually the challenges. So I mean, how do we kind of uh, address this, because there is no way, we have, as we have rightly acknowledged, that social media is going to play a very important role, and it is going to influence the electoral processes and the way these political actors behave in the political market. And it's happening all over the world. So, how do we strike a balance, or how do we address these concerns uh, that social use of social media brings with it?
Yeah, okay. Yes, before going to the challenges of social media use, I would highlight a positive aspect, which is the real time feedback politicians can receive from voters. And that's a great thing because it's really hard for
True.
candidates to know what people want. And before social media, they were always trying to guess what to deliver to the voters, and now they have people commenting all the time, and they know what people want in real time, and they know if the campaign is doing good impact or not. So and it can shape quickly the campaign, but that has that also has a challenge because people don't want every time what is good. So people have some prejudices. People are in some environments uh, uh, which can make them more susceptible to fake news or misinformation. And maybe a politician may think, okay, what about if this, the voters want something? What about if I spread a misinformation, and this misinformation will be good for me politically, and that will have a good result, and they can analyze the feedbacks and how people respond to that. And maybe it would be good to spread a misinformation about my the other candidate. Who will know if it's true or not? And I know they don't want the other candidate to be corrupt or to be immoral. And what about if I spread this misinformation? And I think people will like that. People will share that because we know there is something that make people a lot very responsible is fear and hate. So it's very easy to do that. And people play with the rules. They are in a game. And if it's possible to do that and that will have a great impact, someone will do that. And if the other candidate is doing it, as a candidate, I should do that as well. And so we can have an environment, an electoral environment, with a lot of fake news, hate speech, a lot of information destroying reputation, a lot of social problems, polarization. So that's the big challenge of social media. In a consumer market, someone can say the other product is bad and it's bad for health. Not someone can target their ad on the other producers, and in a political market that may happen as well. So the challenges with social media is that it's easy to spread misinformation and to destroy reputation, and that's very harmful. And it increases the spread of hate speech and favors some populist agendas. People can spread informations that are really impossible or wouldn't deliver a good outcome, but people would want that as well because they are less informed and don't know the outcomes of some policies. And also, politicians can use the prejudice people has and spread false information about minorities. And that happens worldwide. This is happening all around the world. We have a lot of countries having elections in 2024, and this is happening everywhere. It happened here in Brazil. It happened in all Latin America, USA, Europe, Asia as well. So that's the big challenge the regulators may face to have a good political market. Just to give some examples of minorities that has been targeted with fake news and hate speech. It's
Mm.
happened in France recently that a candidate was linked to Islamic State and that impacted the Muslim population. It's happened in Brazil with women's rights and gays' rights. And
Yes.
that's it. And people start to get with this use of social media in elections. We have not also a problem on the electoral system, but also a social problem. And with a lot of misinformations, it may happen that we have some social disturbance and even mass protests. We have a series of mass protests in Brazil against the Soccer World Cup in
Yeah.
2004.
Exactly, because these actually lead to massive protests in the political ends, creating social disturbance, damaging social property, because people, uh, see something on social media and react, go on the streets, start burning cars or something, start protesting about something what happened in whether in France or something. Like I said, religion is also sometimes portrayed in such a way that it leads to it creates social disturbance and massive protests within communities and countries. And before we go on to the regulations or whether there should be like you know a regulation to regulate social media, so, and the way they're being used in the political market. If I could just sum up these negative impacts of social media, just the way we did, highlighted the positive impacts. I think we kind of agreed that the spread of this misinformation is number one, because it can influence voters' opinion about a particular candidate or a particular party, and their credibility is going to be questioned. Then social medias have these algorithms. They use these filter bubbles, so you target who's going to view what, and who's going to watch what, and who's going to react to what. And then we talked about how they are being manipulated. Now we have AI and whatnot, so images, contents, the fake news, and how this manipulation can basically distort the integrity uh, of an electoral process, which is basically the core of a democracy. And then also we see online attacks, harassments. If somebody's saying something about supporting one party, there's the haters, like you mentioned, the hate speech. Uh, is there, which is sometimes some people take it personally and creates an hostile environment, per se, on the social media. And also, I think there is the concern of privacy, because you are using your profile and commenting or sharing, news or a video or something. So there are privacy concerns and about your information. So that because your personal data, how they're going to be used and collected, remains uncertain. Then there is this whether uh, there are malicious reasons behind a particular campaign or a particular post that is being created, or which could lead to confusion amongst the voters. They kind of know probably it's fake, but then again it's still being becoming viral. So it kind of does damage the reputation of that particular political party or that particular political actor in the political market. So while social media does offer numerous benefits for democracy, but it is obviously very crucial to address these challenges so that we can use social media um, as a way to enhance democracy rather than hampering democracy and democratic principles on which these electoral processes are built upon, the legal frameworks are built upon. So, if I could quickly summarize for our audience, we are also short on time, the pros and cons of using social media. If I miss any, tell me, Andre. The pros and cons of using social media platforms during elections would be basically uh, the pros, basically increased reach and visibility, direct engagement with the voters. Then information dissemination is cheaper, faster, and done on real time. Then we have target advertising, marketing, and or you can reach your audience, target audience very easily. Then we are engaging the youth generation. Then we are getting real time feedback, and we are also reaching the grass at the grassroots level. So these are all the pros of social media. While that is true, we also acknowledge the cons of social media during in the electoral process. Like, we have already discussed the spread of misinformation. It spreads like wildfire. It can hamper the reputation and goodwill and create confusion. Then, like, the algorithms, the filter bubbles that are being used on social media platforms. Then how online disclosure on social media platforms can include polarization and division, and the concerns of privacy, online harassment, foreign interference, because we are using social media. Um, everybody around the world can now basically have access to that. So how these malicious actors are trying to influence elections is also a matter of concern. Then are these engagement real or superficial, or is there an AI or chatbot behind it? We don't know. So while the power and impact of social media is substantially transforming the way campaigns are being conducted in this digital era, and the information are being shared, uh, we have to very carefully um, identify the negative consequences that I just mentioned, and like to ensure the integrity of these electoral processes and the well-being of democratic societies. So efforts should be given, no doubt, to have specific regulations with regards to using social media uh, during an election, or if it's made a part of electoral processes. And I think there's no if anymore. It has become part of our electoral processes. It is influencing the way the actors in the political market are behaving. And so moving forward, I think what we kind of need to do is have regulations have certain policies in place and promote media literacy and encourage responsible platform practices um, to mitigate these negative impacts. And would you kind of share some examples of good, bad regulations of social media and kind of guide us so that we can address these challenges and have a fair, free and fair election?
Sure. When we think about regulation of social media, we may think that the main goal should be protect free speech because free speech is fundamental to democracy. It is essential to a competitive political market. It's very important to have a lot of opinions. So, as I said in the beginning, democracy is a market of ideas, and so if it's important that people can share their opinions and their ideas, but also the regulations should prevent fake news, reputation attacks, and use of bots. So that's the big challenge. Regulation can go in a way that it harms free speech, but also may protect people from misinformation. And the regulation can go in three spheres. The first one may be some general rules targeting digital platforms to prevent fake profiles, massive messaging, and track the source of information. That's the basics. So it's targeting the platforms so they can the platforms can act to prevent some of the problems like the use of bots and massive spread of information. And so we need some general legal framework to guide the digital platforms, and that's being done worldwide. Almost all the countries are doing this kind of laws. Another one is to support social media observatories. And these observatories are private associations with researchers and experts, and these people can track the information and fact check and educate. And some countries has been good results with that. It was on the news that Finland had some good results with that, and people getting more informed can know if some information is false or not. They can check with the observatory if fake news or not. So it may make the information better and people more informed. And of course, we need to have some institutions to track and remove and punish the spread of fake news. It's really important that these institutions are political, insulated, are independent, because otherwise it could be captured by politicians. In many countries, these institutions are formed by judges or as part of the judiciary because they are political insulated. And also the punishments to the spread of fake news and misinformation should be proportional to the offense. Why that? Because high punishment would be harm to free speech as well. As a voter, it's really hard to someone to know if an information is false or not. And it's not proportional to have a high punishment to a voter because he is less informed. So, uh, and a high punishment may make people scared of sharing information, and that's not desirable. What is done in most of the countries is that voters or people that are not political players generally are punished with the removal of the content and sometimes the suspension of internet accounts. So they stop sharing misinformation. But political players that use this information for personal gains, they should have higher punishments, and it also can have with criminal charges or fines and internet suspension as well.
I think you are very correct. We have seen certain aspects of it happening all around the globe. And if I am to talk about from a Bangladesh perspective, we have a vision to be smart Bangladesh. So smart Bangladesh kind of by 2041, which means like everybody, almost everybody has to be smart in terms of like technology, in terms of getting information and all that. So if I can highlight, because at the beginning I mentioned we have our general elections tomorrow, and I was quite impressed by the way technology has been used during our elections. So usually, what used to happen, which was again time consuming and had a huge financial expense, like every voter would get a voting slip with their voting ID number, the voting center where you should go, and we didn't get it this year. And my family and I, we were like wondering, like, how come we didn't get it this year? So where do we go to vote and all that? And then suddenly I came across this app. So the Bangladesh Election Commission actually created an app where you just put in your date of birth and you put in your national ID. It's like social security number that's used in US. So you put in your NID number and your date of birth. It tells you your voter number, your serial number, your which center you're supposed to go to, with a Google location map on how to get there. And I thought that was amazing. I kind of told my father, like, relax, you don't have to worry about it. Like, it's sorted. We are living in smart Bangladesh. On top of it, the political parties here, each one has a manifesto went before elections, and there are QR codes to download their manifesto. So, which is something I have never seen. I don't think, most people has not seen in this country at least. So, I'm going to share some data. 50 more than 50 million Bengalis are on the social media platform, and half of them are actually the young people. Facebook, I know social media can mean so many things: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, it's X. And but Bangladesh actually, 93% of the users of social media in Bangladesh are on Facebook. And then we have seen a certain increase um, of these in the last few months on social media platforms. And there has been certain changes in our existing laws to make sure none of these are threatening to the freedom of speech. So I am quite hopeful that even though we might not have a specific regulation per se, but there are bits and pieces in few laws spread out. They're just not in grouped in one. But I want to. We are also running out of time, but so with I want to conclude by saying that use of technology during elections has advantages, of course, in terms of efficiency and accessibility. And it is also important to address the security concerns to ensure transparency in order to maintain the public interest and public trust in the democratic process. So it's how you strike a balance, really, when at the same time we're embracing the technological advancements. And at the same time, we have to safeguard the integrity of the elections in this complex era that we are in. So we are also out of time, and I want to thank you for your time and your valuable comments and input on this very important topic today. And I hope everyone was able to learn something from our discussion today. And it was great connecting with you, Andre.
Yeah, it's amazing how Bangladesh is using technology on elections and everything else. It's really great to talk with you, Tas, because I always learn a lot with you. We studied together, so we learn from each other, but also we live in a distant part of the world, so we can know about different realities, and then we can know how people are experience some things there and here, and that's great for me. It's a good conversation, an insightful discussion. And social media is a new challenge to worldwide. So everybody is
Problem.
learning.
It's a global problem, really.
Everybody is learning how to deal with it.
Exactly,
So
exactly,
regulation is changing all the time because also the technology adapts to the regulation and new problems can come. And that's how things evolve. Things
exactly.
evolve by trying and fail and have success, and success are copied from other countries and other people, and that's how things go. To finish,
Yes,
I wish Bangladesh have a really good election day, that it would be calm and people can vote and express their preference. They have that you have a good result, and and have a good day, and hope that people get satisfied and that this decision may evolve to good results in Bangladesh.
yes, I hope so too, because actually, at the end, the goal still remains to ensure a free, fair, and transparent election that accurately represents the will of the people. And with that, Andres, I want to thank you again. I want to thank the audience. And like you said, thank you and good luck to Bangladesh. And let's hope we get to talk more on Brazil, and we get to meet somewhere sometime in between very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. Bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Bye.